Good morning. Buenos dias. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined, I was just remarking before that I didn't realize that all of the leaders of these organizations would be Latinas, and so I can start the day in a better way, better accompanied by a group of talented individuals who are going to speak to you in just a moment. But we are in the midst of a historic time, and we come today to speak in support of the confirmation of Judge Sonia Sotomayor. A certain amount of years ago, and I won't get into the numbers in order to protect the parties involved, a baby boy was being raised in a tenement building in Union City, New Jersey, by a family that may have been short on money but was long on love, and a family proud of its Latino heritage, but just as proud to be a part of the American story. In the very same year, just across the river, a baby girl was being raised in a public housing project in the Bronx, New York. She, too, was raised by a family of modest means, but with an abundance of caring. She, too, was raised by a family that felt a connection to its culture, but just as much a connection to the great land that it now calls home. This week, the boy from the Union City tenement, now standing before you as one of 100 United States senators, has the opportunity to cast a historic vote for the girl from the Bronx Project, now the first Latina nominated to serve on the nation's highest court, Judge Sonia Sotomayor. I raise this point about the vote that I will cast to confirm Judge Sotomayor not because it is a coincidence, but because in the United States of America, it is, in fact, the opposite. These circumstances are what generations have called the American dream. I raise this point because this is the promise of this most amazing nation. And I raise it because today there are children, Latino children, being raised in households much like the one that raised Judge Sotomayor, children growing up in Union City, in the Bronx, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago, Texas, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, in every state of the nation. And when Sonia Sotomayor is confirmed, it too will be confirmed for these children that yes, in our country, anything is possible. Now, what will the confirmation of Sonia Sotomayor mean to the Latino community? It will mean pride. I know that so many Latinos from sea to shining sea were excited by her historic nomination. But when they learned about her record, when they heard of her qualifications, and when they watched her navigate her confirmation hearing like she was teaching law school, it was more than excitement. It was awe. It was pride. What will the confirmation of Sonia Sotomayor mean to the Latino community? It will mean hope. When Sonia Sotomayor is confirmed, every young Latina in elementary school will fully understand the promise of this country. They will look at the Supreme Court and not only see a Latina face, they will see a Latina face that represents one of the smartest, most qualified, most deserving justices ever to sit on that hallowed bench. They will look at that face and recognize that one day it can be their face. One day it can be they who helps guide our great nation. What will the confirmation of Sonia Sotomayor mean to the Latino community? It will mean affirmation. 47 million Latinos day in and day out help weave the fabric of our nation, help make ours an even more prosperous and even more vibrant land. And they defend the United States both at home and abroad. Despite the contributions that Latinos have made since the day our country was born, some would paint the entire community in an ugly light, using the power of fear to win political battles, reinforcing caricatures that depict proud people as dangerous, even subhuman. But the tide runs against those who seek to divide. Latino school children will soon make up one of every 4 children in the nation's public school system. The Latino marketplace is reaching $1 trillion. In last year's election, the road to the White House in large part came through the Latino community. And the moment when Justice Sotomayor takes the bench, at that sight of an exceptional, immensely qualified member of the Latino community gaining membership in the highest court in the land. That will be a moment that crystallizes the importance of the roles Latinos play in our great nation. For me, many of us in the Latino community, the ideal and idea of America and the deep and abiding wisdom of our founders will have come of age when Judge Sonia Sotomayor raises her right hand, places her left hand on the Bible, and takes the solemn oath of office. When she does, the new portrait of the justices of the United States Supreme Court will more clearly reflect who we are as a nation, what we have become, and what we stand for as a fair, just, and hopeful people. Let that be our charge. Let that be the legacy of our generation. And let that be the vote that takes place this week. I will say one final thing. I am immensely disappointed that so few Republicans, in the face of one of the most qualified judges ever to be nominated to be a Supreme Court justice, more qualifications in terms of federal experience than any justice nominated in the last 100 years. Someone whose record of faithfulness to the Constitution, to the rule of law, to precedent is really unquestionable. The worst thing that can be said about Judge Sotomayor is that she grew up life seeing the whole view of life from the cheap seats. I understand what those cheap seats are. That's where I grew up as well. But to suggest that, in fact, one speech, one time, one sentence can undermine a lifetime of service and commitment to the rule of law is pretty outrageous to me. And I hope that our colleagues in the Republican Party who have gone to great length, and I speak particularly about the leadership, to, for example, have this vote scored by the NRA, when that is rarely done. Last time it was done was Robert Bork by the NRA. So that purposefully she will not get the type of vote that other Supreme Court justices have gotten is a slap and an offense to the Hispanic community in this country. You couldn't have a more qualified judge be nominated. You won't have a better justice sitting on the Supreme Court. For those of us who watched the confirmation process before the committee and saw Republican member after Republican member who now have come out in opposition to her, continuously not question the witness but badger the witness on one sentence about a wise Latina, to simply take that and use that against a lifetime of judicial decisions that show your commitment to the rule of law, show your commitment to precedent, your fidelity to the Constitution, is pretty amazing. It's a statement to all of us who come from this community to understand. I appreciate that it took a Democratic president and President Obama to create this historical opportunity. We've had many others who have had the opportunity to nominate a qualified Hispanic before the United States Supreme Court. They've never chosen to do it. President Obama did, and he made an excellent choice. Very briefly, let me say a few words in Spanish, and then let me introduce the rest of our colleagues here. Quiero decir que esta semana es una semana histórica, en la cual el Senado está ya al fin teniendo el debate y va a tener el voto para la confirmación de la jueza Sonia Sotomayor a ser juez de la Corte Suprema de los Estados Unidos, la Corte más alta de la nación. Para nosotros como latinos esto es un momento profundamente de orgullo, porque nunca en la historia de la nación hemos tenido un hispano en la Corte Suprema de los Estados Unidos. Aunque hemos tenido muchas personas, tanto jueces como abogados, que tienen la capacidad intelectualmente, la honestidad, la integridad de haber servido en la Corte Suprema. Pero tomó un presidente demócrata, el presidente Barack Obama, para crear esta nominación y escogió una persona que es excepcional, excepcionalmente con su intelecto, excepcionalmente con su fidelidad a la ley, fidelidad a la Constitución de los Estados Unidos, con un historial de la Corte Federal, tanto la Corte de Circuito, la Corte de nivel más básico, la Corte de Apelaciones, que ha tenido más experiencia federal que cualquier otro nominado en los últimos 100 años de nominados a la Corte Suprema de los Estados Unidos. Déjame repetir eso. Esta jueza, que es latina, tiene más experiencia federal que cualquier otro nominado a la Corte Suprema en más de un siglo. Excepcional. Para nosotros, como latinos, no solamente es un momento de orgullo porque es una latina, pero porque tiene una capacidad enorme para ser uno de los mejores jueces de la Corte Suprema que la Corte ha visto en su historia. Y por último, nos duele enormemente que el liderazgo del Partido Republicano ha decidido de actualmente hacer todo lo posible para oponerse a su nominación. Consiguió que la Asociación Nacional de Armas, el NRA, actualmente tuviera esto como un voto decisivo en su lista anualmente, su reporte de los votos de miembros del Congreso y sobre todo del Senado, simplemente para disminuir la cantidad de votos que ella vaya a recibir. Cuando tenemos una jueza que es latina, en un momento de nominación histórica, que tiene más capacidad que cualquier otro nominado en los últimos 100 años, y el Partido Republicano se une para oponerse a ella, yo creo que es un mensaje muy importante a nuestra comunidad. Tomar una frase en una vida entera, una historia de una vida entera, una historia ejemplar de su tiempo en la Corte Federal, que nos enseña ese tiempo en la Corte Federal fidelidad a la Constitución, fidelidad a la ley, fidelidad a los antecedentes legales, que es exactamente lo que los republicanos dicen que quieren ver. Ver todo eso y todavía oponerse por una frase que ella hizo en un discurso afuera de la Corte casi una década atrás, es increíble. Y nos manda un mensaje con nosotros como latinos que tenemos que reconocer, Y por eso estamos aquí hoy dando un mensaje bien claro, que queremos ver un voto nutrido para la jueza Sotomayor. Sabemos que esto es un momento histórico para la nación y para nuestra comunidad. Que vamos a mirar quién vota en favor y quién no. Y por último, que entendemos lo que es para nosotros como comunidad ver a alguien de tan capacidad ser nominada a la Corte Suprema. Para cualquier niña latina o niño latino en una aula escolar en esta nación, pueden ver a la Corte Suprema, la Corte más alta del país, y decir, una mujer creada en un barrio pobre en la ciudad de Nueva York puede llegar a la cima de la oportunidad en este país. Y si ella lo puede hacer, yo puedo ser la próxima Sonia Sotomayor. Con eso, let me introduce to you now Janet Murguia, the President of the National Council of Lawyers.